Okay, so today we have the CJRB Pyrite. This is the White Mountain Knives exclusive, which is in the AR-RPM stainless steel, which is the proprietary that we see with CJRB and Artisan Cutlery, with the G10 scales and this white and black Damascus, I guess is what they call it. So essentially we've done taking it apart. I've had this knife for about a year, I guess, or at least since it was released. But basically we found it had a very weak detent on the button, meaning the spring was a little mushy. So just with the slightest shaking, the blade would just slide out. It flicked thumb stud, middle finger flick beautifully. But I had seen some reviews online and some comments with button locks where taking it out, giving the spring just a little stretch to create a little more tension would help with that. Hopefully I haven't overdone it, but I'm getting ready to do cleanup and put it back together. And we'll see whether or not we've actually improved things or potentially made it worse. There's a couple places I found interesting where, so the stop pin here is pinned in pretty hard. I didn't bother to get any pliers and pull it out from that side, as well as the back spacers on this side. Again, it's almost like they're not really pinned in. I guess I could get them out if I use some pliers, but I don't want to damage them. So the screws only come in from this side, and there's not really screws holding those in on the other side, which I found kind of interesting in terms of the build. So when I took it apart, these are kind of staying as is. So anyway, we're going to clean everything up nicely, put it all back together. All right, I'll let you know. All right, so we're all done putting it back together. It was a little unusual there. The ball bearings, captured ball bearings that they have in there have a kind of an unusual configuration. And when I put them in with the more of the exposed ball side facing towards the blade, which is what I would typically think, it had a very, like, you could feel the individual balls running over. It was very unusual. So I had to take it back apart and flip them around, and now it's sort of back to where it was originally, which is very, very smooth. I'll show you in just a second here if I can ever get this thing to play nice and go back to where it belongs. And then beyond that, kind of the captured pivot side is opposite where you need to be. So unfortunately, to access the spring, you have to go all the way through the knife to the other side. I think initially my spring was maybe a little bit too tight. I mean, too expanded, creating too much tension because I was getting some lock stick. So now I'm not sure I've actually improved things. I mean, it's at least running as smooth as it did before. Still bounces out quite a bit. Before, if I shook it even like this, it would come out. Now I have to really give it a swing. So that's pretty good right there. Because before, if I did that, it just slung out. Now that I have to put a little bit of pull. I kind of feel like maybe there's a hair of lock stick that I didn't have before. You can kind of hear it. Hear that little? But I mean, you know, it's very subtle. And I've tried making some adjusting, loosening or tightening the pivot, moving around the scales a little bit. Nothing seems to be really, I mean, it's not hanging up. I mean, when I watch it, So I've been trying to make some adjustments, like little micro adjustments, tightening the pivot to see if it's working. It actually feels worse when I tighten the pivot. I have no blade play at all, which is good. So when I loosen it just a hair, still no blade play. I mean, it feels pretty much the same. Blade drops a little bit easier. So I think we'll just leave it alone for a bit, see what it does. See if it kind of works itself out before I go bothering to. I'm sure it's just a tolerance issue. The tolerances are probably not. Ooh, that's pretty good. That's pretty much where I was beforehand. Where I could just, yeah, that's where we're gonna stay. So there you have it. Not bad. I mean, obviously I'm not slinging hard, but what, a little bit. There it goes. So that's pretty good, guys. I'm happy with that. Barring something changes, I don't know if that spring will compress over time and I'll have to do more with it. Well, I mean, there's only one way to see. It's one of those typical things where it was pretty much running great before. Hopefully I haven't just made matters worse by fiddling with it. I don't think so, though. I think we're doing pretty good. So, all right. Thanks for joining me. I know it was a long one, but hopefully useful, and I will try and cut out and edit where I can. Thanks, guys. Bye. Thanks for joining us today, and hit that subscribe button. See you soon.